Hello all, and welcome to the Rails Board meeting. Today is Friday, January 26th, 2024. I am Alex Vancina, President of the Rails Board, and I call this meeting to order at 1 p.m. Emily, would you please call roll?
Sure. Monica Caldecott.
Here.
Rosie Camargo. Jean Carroll.
Here.
Alice Creason.
Here.
Gwen Gregory.
Here.
Diane Hollister.
Calling for you, Diane.
Oh, here, I'm sorry.
The audio is a little low.
Jennifer Hovanek.
Here.
Renee Leva.
Here.
Julie Millivek.
Here.
Thomas Stagg.
Here.
Alex Vancina.
Here.
Vanessa L'Oreal. Karen Voidick.
Here.
And Catherine Yanikowski.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you, Emily. We'll move on to public comments, and we'll handle guests and public comments at the same time. Let's start with guests here in Burr Ridge.
Monica Harris, Rails. Sharon Swanson, Rails.
Barb Miller, Rails.
Anna Beam, Rails. Ola Gronsky, Rails.
Layla Heath, Rails. Sydney Hop, Rails.
Sam Daly, Rails.
Mark Patch, Rails.
Lauren Nemeth, Rails.
Don Newt, Rails.
Joe Philippek, Rails.
Alon Wilbur. Library.
Thank you. Are there any public comments here in Burr Ridge? Hearing none, we'll move on to East Peoria. Are there guests in East Peoria?
Hello, Kendall Orson, Rails and RSA, and I am comment free.
Hi, Kendall. Thank you. Emily, would you read the names of any guests on Zoom?
Yes. We have myself, Ann Slaughter, Dan Bostrom, Karen Egan from the State Library, and Ryan Hubble.
Thank you. Any public comments from Zoom participants? Have we received any public comments by email?
We have not.
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to move any items from the consent agenda to the regular agenda for further discussion? Not, may I have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved, Julie.
Julie, thank you.
Second, Jen.
Jen? Emily, roll call, please.
Monica Caldecott.
Yes.
Rosie Camargo. Oh, sorry, she's not there yet, is she? She is on her way. Jean Carroll.
She stepped out.
She's consulting with Galen in the back.
Alice Creason.
Yes.
Gwen Gregory.
Yes.
Diane Hollister.
Yes.
Jennifer Hovanek.
Yes.
Renee Leva.
Yes.
Julie Millivek.
Yes.
Thomas Stagg.
Yes.
Karen Voidick.
Yes.
Catherine Yanikowski.
Yes.
And Alex Vancina.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next is Sharon Swanson with the Rails Financial Report.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a while since we've all seen each other. And we've had a couple of months pass in between times, but the focus of my report will be on December. So the December 31st general fund cash and investment balance of approximately $28.1 million would fund approximately 24.6 months of budgeted fiscal year 2024 operations. And of course, this is a 7.4% increase since we last reported the financials in October. And this was due to the November 27th receipt of the general fund portion of our APC grant, which was a little over $9.9 million. And that was received much earlier this year than in previous years because the Live and Learn Fund within the state library has been discontinued. And it all comes out of the general fund minus the federal or LSTA portion of our grant. General fund revenues through December of nearly $13.8 million, which are approximately $280,000 above budget. And this was mostly due to above budget investment income. This was budgeted at a 3.75% rate when the budget was finalized to be conservative, and we did not anticipate the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates so consistently at that point. Right now, interest rates are averaging 5.5%. And the slight interest rate decline since October, because there was a slight decline, was due to the Federal Reserve's projections of interest rates remaining stable and or a potential for 0.75 percentage point cuts during the current calendar year. This above budget amount was also due to fees for services and materials running above budget. This is mostly just timing differences between actual and budgeted billings for eRead Illinois and the Find More Illinois membership fees. And this is also due to other state grants. The L2 development and enhancements and the world language cataloging grants were not approved when the budget was, at the time that the budget was finalized, so they were not included to be conservative. But those both were awarded to us, and a total of $61,504 has been recognized related to these grants through December. Moving on to expenditures, general fund expenditures through December were nearly $8.2 million. And those were nearly $716,000 below budget, mostly due to lower library materials expenditures. And this is timing differences between budgeted and actual eRead Illinois program expenditures. And these differences were partially offset by higher than expected participation in the EBSCO database group purchase, which is a fully reimbursed program. In the reimbursement, it's offset by completely 100% by the reimbursement revenue above. So that is good news, even though it is above budget. These below budget expenditures were also due to lower personnel expenditures. And of course, you all know how many open positions we've had this year, and there's a normal recruitment delay in between that open position and actually filling the position. So these are due to those timing differences and those delays in hiring that are completely normal. And this was also due to favorable to budget staff health insurance elections during the first half of the fiscal year, as well as a blending of the planned and budgeted 11% increase in health insurance rates. And these expenditures should end closer. The health insurance expenditures should end closer to the budgeted amount at the close of the fiscal year. These low budget expenditures were also due to lower contractual services expenditures, and this is timing differences between being billed by our delivery outsourcing contractor, as well as a much lower than anticipated fuel recovery charge from the same vendor, because as you all know and have seen in your personal lives, fuel has come in much lower than we started at the beginning of the fiscal year, and especially back when we were planning the budget too, because we budgeted at $4.25 per gallon at a tax exempt rate, which recently we've been at $2.89 the last month that we paid to our fuel card vendor. So we've been extremely favorable, and that's playing into what we're paying our delivery outsourcing contractor as well. So these are all partially offset these lower fuel expenditures and lower expenditures in this vehicle category by higher repairs. So in total, to combat these repairs, because the last time that we purchased vehicles was 2019, we have recently been able to order 13 total vehicles, which includes 5 box trucks and 8 vans. And 3 of these vehicles were delivered 2 days ago.
Hey.
Parking lots. So they're coming in much faster than anticipated as well. So hopefully before the end of the fiscal year, we have all 13, but we shall see. Rails had budgeted for the purchase of 12 vehicles for a total of $750,000, but we were able to order 13, $11,000 over this budgeted amount. So we were able to squeeze in an extra vehicle, just coming in a little over budget. And most of our fleet are currently at 200,000 mile or above mark now. So we're going to need to keep on pace with vehicle replacements moving forward. So during the month of November and December, Rails finished paying for the carpet replacement at our Coal Valley facility, and also completed the budgeted patio replacement at Burr Ridge. Both of these projects came in above budget, but the soon-to-be started recabling project that's going to happen here at the Burr Ridge Building is expected to come in well under budget, so that will offset that. And I did want to, since we have all of our new calendar year rates for everything, I did want to give the board an update as well. So our employer contribution rate for unemployment insurance decreased from 2.05% to 1.75%. And that's just due to a drop in the prior 3 years claims history that they look at when they determine your rate. And our employer contribution rate for IMRF, which was already very enviable at 0.96%, went down to 0.88%, so it decreased slightly. Health insurance, of course, I already mentioned that 11% anticipated increase, and it did happen at 11% what was budgeted. And this reflects Limerick's, the Limerick Cooperative, which we participate in, their overall claims experience for all of their members. And we do have a number, because I am on the Limerick board, I am treasurer on the Limerick board, we do have a number of large claimants that are driving that claims experience, unfortunately. So property and casualty insurance, which we get through our Lyric Cooperative that we are a part of, increased overall 14.85%. And this is due to the Burr Ridge building appraisal, which we hadn't had done since the beginning of 2017. But right after we had that done, we did a major upgrade for the conference room, the kitchens, the bathroom off this end of the building. And the appraisal that we had done went up 1.46 million. So that put our property insurance up, of course. And this increase in the overall insurance rate was also due to payroll increasing from the addition of the administrative staff that were budgeted. So the 3 positions that we added, the delivery staff increases that were granted back in February, as well as the annual COLA increases that are normal. And as a cooperative, I did want to mention LIRA is paying for appraisals for all of their members to ensure that everyone is insured at the proper levels and is consistently valued comparably across the entire cooperative. So they are going to pay for us to have a brand new appraisal done on both of our own buildings. That's just about all that I had. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The vehicles, once the vehicles are already the new ones to be used, what are they gonna do with the old ones? Is there, I mean, they're pretty old and beat up, but I don't know if there's a secondary market for them, or is it, you know, what's gonna happen to those?
Once all the vehicles arrive, we'll come back to the board and ask approval to dispose of those vehicles. Then we will offer them out to the state library, to Heartland Library System. Most likely they're not going to, want one of the vehicles, then we'll put them out on an auction.
Okay.
The vehicles that are drivable, we may be able to get someone to purchase those. But ones that are dead as a doorknob, most likely we just have to be scrap, sold as scrap metal. So get the dollars from the weight of those.
I'm gonna miss your emails that say, sorry, there's a delivery delay because the truck is shut down for now. I'll be there in 2 hours, guys.
Hopefully we won't have to send those out
Yeah.
anytime soon.
I had a quick question. I don't know if you know offhand, what's the longest investment monies that we've put in for any type of let me rephrase that. Do we have any investments that are long-term to hopefully stay within that high interest?
On out 2 years at most.
2 years?
That's what we have out there now.
Have you reached out to Prime to seeing like the liability if we went higher than just 2 years?
I did inquire about longer term investments.
Yeah.
Your point, but they started flipping for interest rates. So the interest rate started declining. In fact, declining so far below where interest rates are now that it didn't seem like it would, like the Federal Reserve will lower them quite that fast. And we would pretty much end up even if we went out and tied up the money for longer. I did do that analysis though. That's a good question.
All right. There are no other questions. Thank you, Sharon. And we'll continue with reports, starting off with my report. And I'm happy to say that the executive committee met on January 4th, and we reviewed 17 nominations for the vacancy on the board due to Robin Helenthal's resignation. We interviewed 3 candidates on January 17th, and the executive committee voted to recommend Yolande Wilburn, executive director of the Evanston Public Library, for that position. May I have a motion and a second to approve that appointment?
So moved, Alice.
Second, Karen.
Alice and Karen, thank you both. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Welcome, Yolande. The next order of business is swearing in. Want us for the camera?
Let me get out of the way.
Please raise your right hand and read the oath of office.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Directors of the Reaching Across Illinois Library System according to the best.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to committee reports. Those were included in your board packets. Are there any additional questions or comments regarding the committee reports? Hearing none. Next is Monica with the Rails report.
Thank you, Alex. Hello to all. I know it's been a while since we met, so forgive my semi-long report that I'm about to give you. But we've got a lot of good and exciting news that we want to make sure that you've had to share. So I wanted to start out with a new staff member that we have here at Rails. I want to introduce you to Kate Niehoff. We're very excited to have Kate as our new serving as our new Director of Consulting and Continuing Education. Kate, do you just want to say a little bit about yourself?
Kate, I'm coming from 11 years at the Schaumburg Township District Library, most recently as the Director of Community Engagement and Partnerships. So overseeing a big calendar of events and all of the library's partnerships and outreach services. Before that, I was at the Arlington Heights Library. I've been at the Forest Park Library and the Melrose Park Public Library. But I'm super excited to be here at Rails and looking forward to getting to know all of you.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Kate. Sharon got to tell you a little bit about our vehicles, but I'm going to say it again because we're so excited that we had 3 that have come in. I think we've told you before that the box trucks that we currently have on order, at least part of those box trucks are currently in stock. So we're hopeful that those will be able to move in soon. But as we explained, based on your question, Karen, we will also be looking at a chance to bring in some of that vehicle surplus as well. Wanted to be able to tell you a little bit more about a facility assessment. We have recently received a report for our facility here at Burridge that would kind of project out potential costs that would come from capital over the next 10 years. We're currently reviewing that report, and we hope to be able to share that with you as soon as our February meeting. And so that will help us, especially going into budget season and as we're talking about some of those funds. I wanted to share a little bit about quorum. So I know that all of you are very aware that we have to adhere to the Open Meetings Act. This is typically finding quorum is not an issue for our monthly board meetings, but it has increasingly become an issue at some of our board committee meetings. So we just wanted to reiterate as a best practice to make sure, and we're letting all of our committee members know, not all of our committee members are members of the board, of course, that we want to make sure that if you are aware that you are going to be able to attend attend, that you let our administrative staff know as soon as possible where you will be attending from. And if any changes happen, you can let us know as soon as possible. Sometimes there are weather issues. We actually had a consortia committee meeting that had to be canceled on Monday because the weather was so poor in certain areas of the state that it was impossible for 3 of our folks who had let us know that they would be there to actually make it into that space. And we had to cancel that meeting because when we don't have a quorum, we can't have the meeting going forward. So it is just intended as a reminder, especially as we run into bad weather, that if we know that we're not going to be able to make it, to let everybody know as soon as possible. This group certainly did that, but we just want to make sure we don't have anyone coming to our buildings unnecessarily to have a canceled meeting. We also wanted to let you know that there was a leak at our Burr Ridge facility back on January 17th. That was related to a sprinkler system that leaked with the very cold weather. Our staff were really amazing, and I want to especially commend Mark Hatch and his team for their quick response time. Sharon Swanson actually noticed the leak almost immediately. Mark was in the building, and we were able to get it stopped and cleaned up very quickly. Luckily, it happened during regular business hours when people were in the building, but it was a reminder to us that that is another space where potentially if there's a water issue, we'd like to be able to know about it. So as many of you know, the LIRA program, which we are a part of, offers water pucks that you can put near water systems. So if water touches them at any hour, they will send an alert to a group of staff so that they can immediately be dealt with, and that helps with liability issues. So fortunately, it did not have much of a financial impact to us at this time, but it is the kind of thing that we will be looking at. We were also made aware that there was a crack near the foundation that allowed for air to come in that probably contributed to this issue. And so we will have to look at some issues around that as well in the next few months, but wanted to make sure you were aware of that as well. Finally, I wanted to let you know a little bit about Public Act 1030343. Some of you may have heard of this, including on the director's listserv, if you're following that. This is a piece of legislation that became effective on January 1st because it has to do with reporting. That reporting is for contractors, independent contractors to IDES. This is a change in rules that we weren't particularly aware of, nor were many libraries and many other affected types of agencies. And so we are still seeking additional guidance. But in the meantime, ANSLGLINC did write a memo that could be available until the state issues additional considerations for how people can move forward on this. We wanted you to be aware of it, and that information is now available both through the director's listserv and on the Rails website. We are also in process of planning our first joint board meeting with the Illinois Heartland Library System in about a decade. We're very excited for this, but it requires a lot of coordination. So just like those board committee meetings, it will also require a quorum of the board to be there in person in order for that meeting to move forward. So you can be assured Emily will probably be sending you a lot of save the dates and other kinds of things to make sure we've got everybody moving forward. We are so grateful to the Bloomington Public Library for hosting. It'll be a new building that we'll be very excited to see and to meet with our colleagues. We've also extended invitations to representatives from the Illinois State Library and also the Chicago Public Library to attend so that there's a chance for all of us across the state to talk about the work of the regional library systems and how we can work together to make sure that we're doing as much as we possibly can, which is fantastic.
And Monica, excuse me. Unfortunately, I just heard from Bloomington Library that they're not as far along in their construction as they would like to be. So we have got to find another venue.
Well, that is sad news.
I know.
I'm sure we will find another great location
Hot
that
off
will
the
allow
presses.
us to move. Oh, yes, that's brand new news. But okay, well, if we have suggestions for places we want to meet, we'll also, of course, confer with our colleagues at Heartland to see where we can go. But we'll be at Bloomington, I'm sure, soon enough. Very good. And finally, I know that Barb is going to talk to you a lot about Find More later, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I just want to say we are so excited that CCS as a consortia voted to join the Find More Illinois platform, which really increases the number of libraries and materials that are going to be available via that platform. It's going to continue to become an even more valuable tool for those who are using it. So I know that Barb is going to tell you all about that later, but I wanted to also just say that we're very grateful and we're really excited about the future of what is coming. So that is my report. Are there any questions about anything that I spoke about or anything else that you saw in the report today?
I just wanted to mention, I think it's really awesome that Rails delivery staff has gone around the world 47 times with the amount of miles they've driven.
Yes.
Sure. So that's commendable to the staff, and also, just really great to see that that much has been delivered from library to library.
Thank you so
It's
much.
really nice to read. So
And for anybody who doesn't know, Catherine's referring to a wonderful social media post that was put together all about the stats around delivery, sort of reflected the Spotify Wrapped process, if you could see about the way that delivery has moved materials across the state this year. And so it was so cool to see, and also just a really great way to show the impact that delivery has on our library system. Thanks for bringing that up, Catherine.
Okay, if there are no other questions, then our next report is going to be Anna with an overview of the eRead program.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anna Beam. I am the e-content specialist here at Rails. And I'm actually going to be talking about all the content, not just eRead Illinois, but a lot about eRead Illinois as well. So everybody should have this piece of paper, and Emily, if you could I'm going to start with the APS library. So what I've got on the paper is kind of an overview of each of the services we provide, what it is, and then I've included some information on sort of like what's new this year with that thing. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Inky.org library. This is an e-content collection of simultaneous use materials. It's available to everybody in the state. It's on the BiblioBoard platform. Libraries don't have to pay a fee to sign up for this. It's not something that a user even needs to have like a library card or a login to access these materials. These are things that are available to anyone inside Illinois. The collection really focuses on Illinois and Illinois creators. So there's three main components to the collection. There's Indie Illinois, which are self-published ebooks by Illinois authors. Rails community collections, which are collections that are put together by libraries in Illinois and then made available on the BiblioBoard platform. And then there are also just over 300 Arcadia titles, which are those books that are like those sepia toned covers that are like town histories and stuff. Those are 300 of those about Illinois towns, communities, people, events, things like that. So that's the Inky.org library, and that's part of this larger suite of resources we have called Inky.org, which is a website. And if you go there, you're going to find access to the Inky.org library on BiblioBoard, but you're also going to find access to tools to help writers and local authors self-publish things that they've written. So you have access to software called Pressbooks. And Pressbooks is where you can take something that you've written and convert it into an ebook file. And then you can print that off, or you can send it to Amazon to have it published there. Or you can also submit it to something called the Indie Author Project, which we make available via Inky.org. And that's something where a user can submit their ebook to the Indie Author Project, and a couple things can happen. It will end up in the Indie Illinois collection, so people all over the state can then read this self-published ebook. And it also can go into a collection called Indie Author Project Select, which are sort of the best of the best self-published ebooks as selected by Library Journal, and those are made available to readers nationally. So it's a pretty cool service that we offer. Again, just like the Inky.org library, it's available to everyone in Illinois. Libraries don't need to pay a fee for this. They just can make it available to their users. As far as what's new with Inky.org and the Inky.org library, we did have over 21,000 views of content in the Inky.org library this year. It's pretty typical for that collection. We have 413 ebooks that have been created via Pressbooks since the program launched in 2019, in October of 2019. And so it was over 100 in the last year have been added alone. And then it continues to be a really popular presentation topic for us with libraries. It's probably the main thing I get asked to do when I get asked to go to a library and talk, is to talk about the Inky.org program or Inky.org library. And in fact, I'm going to be at Galena Lit Fest next month to talk to them there, which is a fun event. We did it a couple 4 years ago, 2020, January 2020. So this is our first time back since the pandemic. So we're excited about that. So that's Inky.org. And then I'm going to get into eRead Illinois and a few other things. And then if you have questions, feel free. So the eRead Illinois program, if you're not familiar with it, it is an e-content collection that we manage here at Rails. It's a popular materials collection. It's hosted on Baker and Taylor's Boundless platform. It is open to Rails member libraries as well as Heartland libraries that are not a part of the share ILS consortium. So it is essentially statewide. I've got the breakdown of membership. We have library members of all types, so academic, public schools, and special libraries. Libraries do pay an annual membership fee to be a part of eRead Illinois, and 100% of that membership fee goes to the shared collection. Those are the basics. And then I'm going to get into what's new because there's a lot that happened with eRead the last year. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is that this fiscal year that we are in is the year we rolled out a brand new fee structure to member libraries. So we had this fee structure that had been established in 2013. We, over the last few years, have sort of looked at it and realized that it wasn't really meeting the needs of the program and that we needed to revise it. So we did a lot of work, a lot of analysis to come up with a brand new fee structure, and we rolled that fee structure out to libraries this time last year. So that process involved a lot of communication. We had a lot of one-on-one meetings with libraries, a lot of conversations explaining why this is happening and what is happening. And then this most current renewal, that fee structure went into effect. So as of July 1st, the fee structure is now in effect. So that was a big project. And then kind of hot on the heels of that, once we finally had that in place, Baker & Taylor, our vendor partner, they decided to sunset the platform that the collection was available on, Access 360, and transition to a brand new platform called Boundless. And so we spent the next several months talking to all of our member libraries about the Boundless platform and getting them ready for that transition. At the same time, Prairie Cat decided they elected to join eRead Illinois as a complete consortium, which was a really exciting and thrilling development. When a complete consortium joins eRead Illinois, their members get a discount on their annual fee. And so we were very happy. We are very happy to have Prairie Cat on board. And then sort of the next project that we are working on is that we are updating our membership and data management tools for eRead Illinois. This isn't something that members will necessarily see, but it's something that happens kind of on the back end. And so the tools that I'm talking about are like the membership database, where all of our member information is, and where like the renewals every year. So the renewal process, it's a big process. It's a heavy lift. There's 900 libraries that are a part of this program. And it's a lot for the staff to manage. And so we are building a new database, a new dashboard, I should say, where information about these libraries and whether or not they've renewed or signed up and where they are in the onboarding process, that information lives there. And it's also automated part of the process for us. So it's going to make it a lot smoother for the staff. This is a project that is, it's not one department or one person that's doing this. It is, we couldn't do this without the help of Wayne Dixon, Brian Smith, Layla Heath, Jody Rubel, and Karen Goyer, and the data team, Grant and Jeanette, have also been a big help with that. So that's an exciting project. Kind of in the midst of all of this, we did launch an updated eRead Illinois website. Again, that was Brian Smith. Thank you to him for his help with that. And it's not all work. There is a lot of fun that goes into this too. And you may or may not know that in 2023, we celebrated 10 years of eRead Illinois. We got to have a party at ILA. It was a lot of fun. If you missed out, you missed out. So that's what's new. And then on the flip side of the piece of paper, I just wanted to highlight some aspects of eRead Illinois and of the collection. The collection is over 68,000 items. It's ebooks, audiobooks, again, popular materials. We did the math, and if a library were to try and build this collection on their own and purchase these 68,000 items, it would cost over $2.5 million to do that. So I just wanted to point out it's a sizable collection. Again, popular in-demand titles. We do order weekly. We try to keep the holds ratios really low on those items. We accept requests and suggestions from members. And then one of the, I think, sort of best features is that libraries that are members, they have their own Boundless site that they get to set up. They can customize that site, and our school library members can scope the collection to specific ages. So it is where they can take this collection that we've built with all users in mind and make it age appropriate for elementary school, middle school, whatever age students. Some statistics about the collection. We had over 400,000 circulations in 2023. We've had over 3 million lifetime circulations of the collection. One of the things we've focused on since 2020 is really building the materials for that K through 12 audience. And so we are up to over 24,000 items for school age users. And I think that's about 35% of the collection now, which is up. I think we were only at about a third of the collection was for school age audience a few years ago. So we have been working on that. We do have over 5,000 simultaneous use titles as part of the collection. Most are one book, one user, but we do try to add simultaneous use titles when we can. And then another thing we've done is we have really focused last year on trying to add more Spanish titles to the collection, and specifically Spanish titles for those school-aged users. So we have almost 5,000 Spanish titles in the collection, and we've added 1,000 of those in the last year. So that is a project that was part of those conversations that we had with libraries when we were talking about the fee change. We met with a lot of school libraries, and we asked, what can we do to support you? What can we do to help you? And one of the requests we heard over and over and over again is they wanted more titles in Spanish. They wanted more popular titles for school-aged readers. And so that's what we've been working on. And then as far as other activities go, we do still manage the Rails Pulse page about e-content and e-content issues in libraries. We do update it regularly with new articles that have come out when there's news about e-content in libraries, so check that out. I also want to mention BiblioBoard's Creator Service is something that we offer as part of our Deals and Discounts program. The Creator Service is something that libraries do pay a fee to be able to access. When they use Creator, though, they create those library collections that are then available in the Inky.org library. And so it's a program that has been popular, not just with the libraries that use Creator, but those collections, those Rails community collections that end up in the Inky.org library are far and away the most popular items that people view on Inky.org library. And it includes things like historical yearbooks. That's the thing. That's what people love looking at, are those old yearbooks. And I think we have over 20 libraries that participate in that, I believe. So that's something I wanted to make sure I mentioned. And then as far as what's new with some of the other activities we've been up to this year, I wanted to mention the License to Read Act. And this is the act that was passed in the Illinois State Legislature that, among other things, it gives the state librarian the ability to negotiate reasonable license terms for e-content on behalf of Illinois libraries. It is something that we are aware of and that we're paying close attention to. We were able to join a meeting with the state library and some of our other word I'm looking for.
Colleagues.
Yeah. Systems, those are the two words. We were able to join that meeting to talk about our experience with purchasing e-content, content licenses, as well as to sort of listen to the experiences of our colleagues, specifically Carly and Heartland. And then lastly, the last thing I want to mention is that we are working with the Rails data intern, Quinn McKissick, to analyze the eRead Illinois collection and some of the collection data we have. And so this is a project that is brand new, just started. Quinn is digging into some of the usage data, cost analysis. We have 10 years of information with this large collection. And we thought, we want to learn something from it. So we were very, very, very excited that they are working with us on that. I think that's it for me. It was a lot.
Any questions? On all that data.
It's a great question. And Quinn's going to be with us through June, I think. Yes. And I don't know that it'll be finalized or complete, or if it's something where when they, finish their time with us, they have to hand it off to somebody else. I don't know. I'm not sure if y'all have.
Well, and so we're meeting to discuss where it's at so far. Yes, starting in next week or the week after, a couple weeks. But one of the things that's also really, in addition to there being 10 years of data, it's a multi-type ebook system. So libraries of all types are using it. It's also just a huge number of libraries. If you look at Overdrive Consortium, they usually top out at 40 libraries, something like that. And we have 6 Yeah, 900. So there's so much data to look at that's really going to give us an opportunity to learn more about ebook and audiobook usage that we're hopeful we can share in a way that's actually going to be helpful to all of our member libraries as they're doing their collection development.
And as the school library representative, I want to thank you guys so much for listening to school libraries and for making so many of the changes that make this resource even more helpful to them and their students. So thank you for that. And just remind me, how do patrons, how do users of eRead authenticate?
There are a variety of options. So it
Okay.
depends on the library and the library setup. And so you can authenticate off your patron database, off of your ILS. For schools, you have an option to upload a list of students.
Okay.
You could authenticate off that list. And there are even options for non-automated libraries. That's one of the wonderful things about the program is that literally any library in Illinois could join. It don't have to be automated. And you could do like prefix authentication if you're not.
Yeah.
So you have a variety of options.
Okay. All right. Good.
And as a Prairie Cat member, I'm just excited at the fact that I looked at the Prairie Cat agenda for next week. If we can meet quorum, just to get everyone to go to Rockford, it's gonna be difficult, but in the agenda, I'm just excited because I've been fighting for this, which is a 3-year plan agreement with eRead Illinois. And I know I've been emailing Monica and Carolyn about this because it's one of those things where if there is an incentive to join, why not extend that? Because of the fact that to pass something as 130 libraries together is very difficult every year. So just to have that extension, but then having that incentive, I think it's like 10% off if the whole consortium join. I'm like, that's a nice incentive, especially for a 3-year plan. So I'm just excited that that's on the agenda and hopefully it goes through.
Just one other follow-up question about the creator. Do libraries who participate, are they using that as almost like a like a historical database? Like people are using it as an archive kind of tool, or?
Kind of depends on the library and what their sort of vision is for creator. Most libraries will do something like historical photo collections. There have been libraries that have done like community cookbooks, or they've self-published their local writers group works, made those available for people to read. But it's mostly, I think, historical photos. Like I said, far and away, the most popular things are your books that libraries digitize. But yeah. Other
All right.
questions?
Thank you, Anna. Great. Next up, we have the Illinois State Library Report. Karen is with us today. Karen Egan.
Hi, thank you. And it's good to be with you all today. It's still foggy and icky here. I don't know about where you are, but I'm glad to be with you. Couple of things. Public library per capita grants. For those of you who are public librarians listening to this, make sure you've got your applications submitted by Tuesday. We're being slammed with grants coming in right now, which is a good thing. And I have to tell you, reading them, it is amazing what's happening in public libraries right now when you read how they are meeting and exceeding the standards for public libraries in Illinois. I'm looking forward to having a report created at the conclusion of the grants that we can share some of the wonderful things that public libraries are doing above and beyond the standards. It's really cool to read these. I hope you all saw, if public libraries were interested in applying for a construction grant, the deadline has been extended to February 15th. Even though the website still says January, it really is February 15th. If you have any questions on that, call Mark Schaefer at the State Library and he can walk you through that. The State Library Advisory Committee met yesterday, and Greg McCormick, our director, shared some incredible things going on that I want to make sure that the board is aware of. As you know, the State Library received an allocation in our budget to purchase e-resources to make them available for the entire state. And that is going to be an RFP RFP process, and it is right now with the Secretary of State Procurement Office. And we are hoping that by March, which is 6 weeks from now, that we will be reviewing those RFPs and be able to get more information to you at that time. One thing I'm really excited about is they're going to offer a 3-year contract with a 7-year renewal. That means the secretary is committed to 10 years in this first contract. So this is going to be an ongoing program that will be available to all types of libraries. And those of you who are schools, one of the things that's going to be in here are pre-K through 12th grade educational resources. I don't know if you remember way back when the State Board of Education used to offer this and then they stopped. Well, front and center, pre-K through 12th grade educational resources are in the RFP. Academic libraries, undergraduate educational resources. So that'll be exciting. Health resources, business resources, reference ebooks, resources to support patrons who are doing test preparation for licensing, certification, career preparation, and workforce skill building. And of course, general information on everything from genealogy to whatever else might be out there. So I'm really excited about this. The other thing is this initiative will address universal services in many ways. The state library is looking at changing rules so that we are able to offer an electronic resources card to anyone in the state. Public libraries, I believe right now, have that option that a library board can determine that a non-resident could get an e-resources card. And think about this, if you're getting the resources free from the state library, you might be able to turn those around for non-residents. And this could be a way we could really make a dent in universal services across the state. So more on that later, but I just want to plant those seeds with you. The other big thing we've got coming out for academic libraries is open educational resources. We received an allocation to dip our toe into the OER arena, and we have been working with Carly on this, and academic libraries will get a direct mailing when this is ready to go, which I hope is as early as next week, to apply for faculty at the university to work with the librarians and others within their academic community to create open educational resources so that students don't have to buy textbooks. This will be amazing. If you've had to pay for college textbooks, you understand. So those are just a couple of things going on at the state library. Does anybody have any questions for me about anything?
Okay, can you restate the timeline for the state database RFP?
Yes, we are hoping to review the RFPs in March. That is the only timeline I can tell you right now. And so soon thereafter, we would be able to make announcements. Stay tuned. Maybe by your March meeting, we might know more. That would be very exciting.
All right. Thank you, Karen. That's all very exciting news. Really looking forward to hearing more about that.
Yes.
All right. Next up, we have a couple of policy changes on the agenda. Monica, would you like to start us off?
Yes, thank you, Alex. So our policy committee, which is chaired by Gwen, has been hard at work, beginning to really go through and lean into a lot of the policies and policy revisions. The policy committee met on November 20th and December 15th, and there are a couple of potential updates here in your packet. We wanted to run them by you. So the first is a security camera policy. This is a brand new policy, and what it is intended to do is to establish more general guidelines around placement and use of video security cameras, as well as access and retrieval procedures It also establishes things like retention that we would follow when we submit to the Local Records Act. Gwen, anything you would add about this one?
No, I don't think so.
Any questions about anything you saw in the draft for the security camera policy?
Right? There are no questions. May I have a motion and a second to approve the security camera policy as presented?
Second.
Julie, Diane, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next up, we have the Paid Leave for All Workers Act.
Yes, so as you all saw, a draft of what we had looked to implement in November for paid leave for all workers. This is of course related to legislation that passed and became effective on January 1st. Rails did choose to adapt the existing personal leave policy to meet the requirements of the law. We then met and had this reviewed by legal counsel, policy committee reviewed and offered a lot of really great and helpful suggestions. And so what you see in your packet is first a draft policy that includes all of the edits. So you can see all the changes that came both from legal and from the Rails team there. And then the secondary copy is your clean copy. This is what the policy would look like after approved and implemented. These changes have already been made in terms of the PTO time that is included in our system, but this would just give us the example of how we implement this going forward. Sam, anything you'd add about this one or anything else I neglected to share? Okay. Gwen, anything else from the group?
I just want to clarify, it seemed like the gap was just like 2.5 hours gap between what we were, where we were and where this law says. Okay.
For full-time employees.
Yeah, okay.
And that's based on what is required by the law.
Right. I guess my point was, I'm glad there wasn't a big gap that we had to, fill. So it's good to know we were nearly there.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, may I have a motion and a second to approve the Paid Leave for All Workers Act policy as presented? Thank you.
Monica, second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you to the policy committee for all of their work on this. I know they've been busy lately. And next up, we have Dan Bostrom with some new member applications.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, we have 2 new member requests. They are both from schools. You can see one is a public school district and the other is a private charter school. I'm going to start with Newark Community School District 66. As you can see from the request, I was contacted by Lisa Snyder, who's the librarian there, via the 2023 Illinois School Library Workers Symposium. That was kind of a nice place to really connect with a lot of folks that are outside of our network. And who we're hoping to bring inside of our network. It's a pretty small district, just 2 schools, and I'm actually not quite sure if they had been members in the past. I couldn't find anything substantial to sort of indicate that, but they are a K-8 district that feeds into a high school district, which is already a Rails member, so it seems pretty logical that they would be a good fit. Lisa and I had a great talk about eRead Illinois. They are very interested in receiving the school district library grant, as you would expect for a public school district. And I think that they would make a terrific addition. The second one is the Prairie Crossing Charter School, and that is up in Grays Lake. Francine Perensky is my contact there, and same with the other one. I met her through the Illinois School Library Workers Symposium. Francine and I have had a lot of discussions this fall. She's kept me clued into what's happening there. I've actually been in contact with their principal as well. They're really interested in the My Library Is grant, which is due, the applications are due in 2 weeks. So she's got a quick turnaround ahead of her for those grants, but she's very keen on being more connected. I think part of the benefit of the Illinois Library Workers Symposium for her, especially, was just being connected to a greater network of folks beyond, her school, and being connected with other folks in other schools around her. So, and obviously, Rails membership would do a lot to kind of, increase that and move that forward. So, I've had great conversations with her, and I'm excited about them as well. So, Any questions that I can answer for either of these requests?
Dan, as far as you know, was Prairie Crossing Rails member in the past?
I don't
Really?
believe so. I don't believe so.
Okay.
And I don't know why or, the history of it much, so.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that symposium was beneficial, I'm sure, in this particular way, but widely
Yeah.
for other school library workers.
Yeah, just bringing more people into the circle kind of is what I would say. Yeah.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to approve the Prairie Crossing Charter School in Grays Lake and the Newark Community School District 66 for Rails membership and send to the State Library for final approval. Monica,
I move that we approve 2 new school library members.
Rosie, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Next, Barb will be presenting on the Find More Illinois project.
Thank you. I'm Barb Miller. I'm the Consortial Services Supervisor here at Rails. I'm going to go over an overview of Find More Illinois, where it's come from 2018 when it started as a pilot through 2023 and what we're planning for 2024. So just a brief overview is Find More Illinois is an interlibrary loan platform that provides access to all participating libraries, holdings in one seamless interface. Libraries of all types and sizes can join, no matter what kind of catalog software they use. This is a great option for Rails libraries that have decided not to join any type of resource sharing catalog or still committed to sharing. So if you're not in a consortium, this gives you a good option. Anyone can search the Find More Illinois catalog, which is currently at 4.9 million holdings, 2.9 million bib records. Both patrons and staff from participating libraries can locate and request materials from participating libraries across the state. They'll be delivered to their home library using Rails delivery service. Libraries that joined Find More Illinois receive training and consulting from Rails staff based on the needs of each individual library. Common misconception about participating in Find More Illinois is the thought that larger libraries are going to become net lenders and their collections are going to just be ransacked by smaller libraries that are going to be asking for everything. But we found that things are a little bit different. Several large libraries that participate in Find More Illinois are actually our net borrowers. These include Aurora Public Library District, Helen M. Plum Memorial Library District, Normal Public Library, Wheaton Public Library, and while these are not net borrowers, both Skokie Public Library and Plainfield Public Library District have balanced rates of borrowing. Find More Illinois pilot was launched in 2018. It started with 19 libraries that were school, public, and academic. Of those 19, 9 of them are still participating 5 years later in Find More Illinois. There are currently 58 active libraries, and we have 34 more libraries in the onboarding process right now. That'll bring us to a total of 92 libraries once everybody is up and running. Find More Illinois libraries cover a wide variety of types and sizes, including members of consortia and standalone libraries. To demonstrate the wide variety of libraries that participate in Find More Illinois, some of them are University of Illinois at Chicago, Waynesville Township Public Library, Phoenix Public Library District, Aurora Public Library District, Lamont Public Library District, Erie Community Unit School District Number 1, and the Old Town School of Folk Music that is currently our only special library. In 2018, after the pilot phase was over with and Find More became what it is now, we had 15 more libraries join. 13 of them were public, 2 of them were school, and we had 602 transactions among all the libraries that year. In 2019, 13 libraries joined. 12 were public, 1 was school, 81% was increase in libraries. Our total transactions went to 1,630, 170% increase in transactions in 1 year. 2020, we all remember what 2020 was. No libraries joined, so there was no increase, but our transactions only dropped to 1,440. So we only had an 11% decrease, everything that was going on. 2021, 3 libraries joined, all of them were public. There was a 23% increase, and I took this from 2019 because it seemed kind of productive to take it from our 0 year. Our total transactions that year were 1,743 items. It's a 21% increase from 2019. And we get to 2022. This is where we really start hitting growth. It was our first year of incentive programs. It was kind of designed to encourage people to join Find More Illinois. So what we did was we offered no setup fees, which is a one-time thing. So you were never going to have to pay them once we waived them. And no annual fees were billed until July 2023. We had 23 libraries join that year, 17 public, 6 of which were the entire Pinnacle Consortium all came in together. And we do give a discount when an entire consortium joins, 4 school libraries. So we had a 65% increase in libraries from 2019, or I should say 2021, I'm sorry. And our transactions went up to 4,713. So it's a 170% increase in transactions among the libraries in Find More Illinois. In 2023, we continued with the incentive programs. January through June, we still had the no one-time setup fees. We're not billed in July 2023. July through December, there were just no one-time setup fees. So once we hit that July, we stopped waiving it to them. He had 8 libraries join, 5 public, 2 school, and 1 special, which was the Old Town School of Folk Music. But in the final weeks, and I mean, literally, I was being asked on December 9th, I had 34 libraries join.
Oh my gosh.
From the second week of December until the end. 1 school library, 1 academic, 32 public, and this will bring us up to 92 libraries working in Find More Illinois. That's a 30% increase in active libraries, not factoring in the 33 that are still in process. We will count them into the figures in 2024 when they're live. That's when I count them in. But our increase in transactions, we went to 10,311. So it's a 118% increase. So if we add it all up from 2018 to 2023, our total library growth was 283%. Our public library growth was 300%. School library growth, 200%. Academic library, 100%, special libraries, 100%, and our transaction growth was 1,612%. So 2024, looking forward to the new year, we are going to be onboarding those 32 libraries and getting them all live. We're pleased to note that all 31 of CCS joined. So we will now have 2 whole consortia in there. 1 academic library is joining us and another school library. Some of the things that we would like to start looking at, and I'm still working with the consultant, Lori Ayer, that we've been working with previously, and we're kind of looking to develop what we have, is evaluating our existing fee tiers in order to identify and implement improvements to the formula and general structure. So things that we've considered, and I'm not saying that this is definitive, just things that we've talked about are possible pricing tiers based on library type, similar to eRead's new structure. So we would be taking into account the size of the library, population served, budget, and type of library. Another thing we've looked at is 2 tiers for schools, depending on the size. So maybe schools of a certain student population would be a no loan school. They would just borrow, nobody would ever ask for anything from them. And everybody else would be lender of last resort, all the other schools, I should say. Or all schools be the lender of last resort. So it's only if the item cannot be found anywhere else, it goes to one of the school libraries. Also looking at evaluating the enhanced borrowing pilot to ensure that we achieve an appropriate scale for the service within our existing staff capacity. So we're looking at some of the things are, it could be free to those who do not have OCLC access and charging a small fee to other libraries, or free to libraries under a certain size and possibly a fee to larger libraries. We're also investigating strategies to encourage participation of more academic libraries to achieve greater depth and breadth to the Find More Illinois catalog. So something I would like to see is more academic libraries participating because their collections are very different. Public libraries tend to be buying the same things for obvious reasons because you're looking for what your readers are looking for. School libraries, the same thing. Where academic libraries, kind of Wild West when it comes to collection. So it would just be a nice balance for our collection if we could encourage more participation that way. So we're looking at possibly an incentive similar to the cataloging grant just for academic libraries, or reevaluating our entire pricing structure with keeping in mind making participation for smaller institutions more accessible. We're also looking to use our collection data to promote Find More Illinois. Something that we need to look at more carefully is determining the what that Find More libraries expand other libraries' collections when you join. Is it total number of materials? Is it the type of material? Is it certain genres and fiction? We need to find out what that is so we can run with it. And also estimating how much a library's access to materials grow when they participate in Find More Illinois. And we are also evaluating our current onboarding process. So things that we're looking at is providing reusable Find More Illinois spine labels for easy identification, materials coming in through Find More Illinois. We do encourage libraries to use it. Not all of them do. And we only started doing this at a certain point in the program, pretty much when I came in a year ago. So it's not consistent use. So that's something we're thinking, maybe onboarding is a good time. It's like, you're new, you don't know anything different here, please use these labels. You know, that's when you catch people, when they're new. Emphasizing the importance of marketing Find More Illinois to their patrons. And I look at Alex with great fondness in my heart for this, because Helen Plum takes the cake in promoting. They are, I think you are our net borrower of the entire system. And they have a slogan, Find More First. And I think all of their patrons know that slogan, probably because it's, if it can't be found in your catalog, they immediately go to Find More. And we need to really work on that with encouraging libraries to make it very clear that they're participating. Sometimes the only way, you know, my own public library, the only way I know we participate and Find More, other than the fact that I work here, is that there's a tiny logo on the OPAC. And I'm like, okay, everybody else on their main page generally will put a logo for whatever they're participating in, whether it be eReads or Explore More Illinois. And I would love to see more libraries just put that logo right on their main page, so everybody knows they're participants and they know when they go to the OPAC, okay, here's where I go if I want to search Find More. So that's something that I'd like to see happen. We'll have to talk more about it. Also developing a Welcome to Find More Illinois kit for our new members. So possibly promotional suggestions in there when they steal from you, Alex, and maybe some promotional materials. I thought this is a very simple thing, is we could have little buttons made that just say, ask me about Find More. And if everybody at your cert desk and reference desk is wearing it, people may ask and maybe it'll spark more interest. So these are just some ideas we're bandying about. Do you have any questions about anything I've talked about or anything you're just curious about Find More? Yes, Monica.
Could you give me a stat about school library members, including the 92?
Where we are total with that? I don't know that I have a complete total number. I can look it up and get it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. And then can I add to your idea list?
Yes, please.
Again, at the worry of being repetitive, please put non-returnables on your idea list, because high school libraries in particular would love it if we could share non-returnables, meaning like a journal article, like send me a PDF of a journal article. I don't need to get it off your shelf. I just need that article because we don't have, short of a state library database package, we don't have access to the journal articles that our faculty and our upper level students are asking for. So if Find More could be that way, I think school libraries, especially high school libraries, would be all over this. Yeah. And then maybe I will share a fun story at the end. So I have been promoting, we're Find More Illinois members, and have found it great. I think I was one of those nervous, like, oh my gosh, I don't have that many books and I can't be studying them elsewhere, but it has been a wonderful mix of things. So I've been talking it up, and recently I fulfilled a request of on Find More Illinois to a high school library. And my friend, the librarian at that high school, called me up and said, "This is so perfect. We joined Find More because you encouraged us to, and our very first loan is from your library." So one of the high school student in West Chicago, Illinois, is now reading my Spanish language copy of Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. And it was kind of just a nice little cherry on top of a good encouragement. So
Circle story
it
there.
is, yeah, yeah.
I would love to hear more like testimonial kind of stuff once we have these bigger kind of groups. I mean, there's a consortium in the room that's not mentioned yet. And I think that hearing some of these stories of impact will help those of us that would like to move in that direction. Okay. So even if it's from like maybe some people who are actually doing like the frontline work, like this is how it works for my staff, or this is how, you know, so
the
narrative in there too. Yeah, I feel like that's, and knowing a lot about Find More myself, I feel like a lot of the hesitance comes from, I don't know that I can take another thing and put it on another plate. So if there's ways that you can help us to tell that story and advocate for, like, I spend a lot of time with Michelle Peterson, so I know how wonderful Find More Illinois is with how, you know, that might be something that would help some of us grease the wheels a little bit.
I would probably suggest to most definitely work with Helen Plum. Obviously, they're your number one. They were using it. You might be able to, because I think, you know, Jen is correct with, it's the message that you send out. And if you can do a quick 10-second video of how for the staff, it is not any more difficult than completing an OCLC. By achieving that, then you get a lot other libraries saying like, oh, if it's that simple, then yeah, I don't know why we just can't join.
Say a difference between OCLC is, in OCLC, you have to mitigate that loan.
Yeah.
Find More, you don't have to. The patrons can make just click request and it's done.
Then
particularly if you're using NSIP, which is the connection between the Find More software and the library software. That's what makes that seamless connection where patrons can just request and.
Or another idea, and the only reason I'm just thinking about it, because I worked with him, work with Colby Maddox at Old Town. Because I'm like, just to have that of like being able to have that partnership there, I'm like, what can he circulate to you and create a video with that? Because again, that's an awesome place to be in. So.
Election.
Yeah.
I would just like to comment that, thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
I think more and more this is the way that all of our libraries should go as we look to expand the diversity of our collections. I think we just heard, and this is the point I've written it down, like this allows us to get languages into our patrons' hands that we probably couldn't collect, right? Because we don't have a large enough population to support that type of purchasing alone. But if other libraries have it, then it really expands the diversity and the depth of our collection materials. And I would advocate heavily for more academic colleges and universities because they do hold some really important materials that our patrons want. But again, it's a one-off use. So we might purchase it, but it sits on our shelves for 5 years before it gets checked out. So it's not going to hang around. With our shelves coming down for, again, ADA height, and making sure patrons can access it, and our staff can access it, but then also in improving sightlines in our libraries, right? So I think this is a fantastic idea, and I would really advocate for it.
Thank you. Yes.
As a special librarian, I think that maybe developing an FAQ for special libraries might be a good idea. Because I just had like 6 or 7 questions go through my head that are not necessarily unique to special libraries, but are probably in common with very small libraries who may not even be listed in OCLC, which is the case with the library I work at. And being part of an engineering firm, it would be a huge incentive to have more academic libraries participating, because it's highly likely that a specialized library would be a net lender because our patrons are not patrons necessarily, but they're consultants or they're doctors, and they're not perhaps going to use the service in the same manner as patrons of public libraries, where they may not be getting their, the next hot popular bestseller, but they may be looking for something that's, very specialized. And within the special libraries also, we are so vastly different from one another with the collections that we have. The academic libraries would really be kind of filling in between our collections. And there is no consortium for special libraries. And I looked into joining Carly, and there's, Carly is extremely popular. There's a wait list to get on Carly, and it's not extended to specialized libraries because they're not educational institutions. And so if there was a way to use Find More as a consortium for special libraries, that would be another huge incentive, because right now you're looking at OC Healthy, and if people aren't listing there, then you don't know and you can't find a lot of things. So I would be really interested to participate in discussions, just on behalf of what I know to be the case for special libraries, and maybe we'll be the second one to join. I don't know. So, yeah, but more academics, definitely.
Well, as the academic library representative, I'm excited to hear that I've been working with Find More Illinois since it started. And so I'm excited to hear, who is the second academic library that's joining it?
South Suburban Community College.
I'm really glad to hear that you're looking at the fee structure, because I think that was made it hard for academic libraries, especially larger ones. And I'm happy to help in any way I can to make it easier, figure out ways to get more academic libraries to join, because I think some of them would be interested in joining, and maybe I could. I'm having a hard time even talking my library into joining. I did talk UIC into joining at the beginning.
They're still with us, so.
No. So maybe, anything I could do to try and help that. I think it would be great for academic libraries. And it also is a way, selling it as a way for us to share our materials throughout the state, especially for public institutions, to, make our things available to more people.
I just want to say, Barb has clearly hit the ground running in the time that she has been here. You can see the kind of exponential growth of this program and what has happened. Ann Slaughter has also been very, very involved with this program for a long time. And we've had a lot of conversations about, now that this promotional period is over, and the goal has really been grow Find More as much as we can, as quickly as we can. We're now getting ready to enter this sort of next phase of Find More. And just like what we're hearing in this room, a lot of the interest is in about creating the value of Find More by targeting certain types of members in order to make it kind of the product that ultimately it could be. So I think that's probably the next phase of these conversations that we're having with the consultant. We're hopeful that we'll be able to look at getting a working group going of some of the folks who are currently participating in Find More to talk more about what they would like to see. So as we really look at the next stages of this program and how we're going to grow it, these are the types of things that all of us are thinking about.
So much support and wisdom in this room of people with, one brain. Multiple brains are better than one brain when you're trying to think of strategies and ideas. So I greatly appreciate all of your input. And if there are no other questions, I'm going to take my seat again. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. As you mentioned, Helen Plum, we are avid users and supporters of the Find More program. If there's anything we can do to help with promotion, happy to do that. And you're welcome to any of our material. It's not stealing, it's resource sharing.
That one, but okay. I'll take it as resource sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to Rails board member reports. It's an opportunity for board members to share news about their libraries or communities. Does anyone have anything they'd wish to share today?
I'll share a nice story. So during the 2023 year, our high school library was a recipient of a My Library Is grant. And I am planning a very cool partnership between the library and the art classes to spend some of the money. Part of it outside the library is a 100-foot blank white wall. And when you get to the top of the stairs, you have no idea the library is right around the corner. And so my goal has always been to get some sort of mural up there. And so the My Library is grant is going to pay for the, we're going to print it. So it'll be a digital like heat transfer mural. And the art teacher and I are planning a pitch to her digital art and design classes to design mural ideas and one of them will come to fruition and be paid to put on our walls. So, yeah.
I just wanted to share something that one of our trustees brought forth at our meeting on Wednesday. She is originally, her parents are from a very small province in India and speak a language that is a little more obscure. Loaf for Kids has books in the language that her parents speak in her native tongue, and she was able to share those books with her children and just thought that was the most amazing thing. And so I just had to share that because they've got a lot of languages in the Loaf for Kids resources, so highly recommend. And
I would like to brag about the Villa Park Public Library just for a second. They released their year in review. And one of the most exciting things is that our foot traffic over 2022 to 2023 increased by just over 24,000 visits.
Ooh.
The library is just doing all the right things with all the right people, and really excited about that.
so I just wanted to share that the NIU Libraries got the 2024 Library Excellence in Access and Diversity Award. And there was also another Rails library that was a winner of this award, which is for academic libraries, the Moraine Valley Community College Library.
Hey.
And that was on 50 libraries in the United States total, so.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And is that focused on your services or collection or all of the above? Or?
All of the above, I think, like any different things that we do.
All right. That brings us to meeting recap and agenda building for our next board meeting, which will be held on Friday, February 23rd at 1 p.m. We'll have some updates from the policy committee. The nominating committee for the upcoming election will be appointed. Rail Service of the Month from Mark Patience, and the board development topic will be Rails facilities and capital assessment activities. Is there anything else we should add to the agenda for the February meeting? If not, we do have need of a closed session this afternoon, so we're going to take a short break for that, but may have a motion and a second to move into closed session before our break.
So moved.
Julie? Rosie, thank you. We do need a roll call for this. Emily?
Rosie Camargo. Jean Carroll.
Yes.
Alice Creason.
Yes.
Gwen Gregory.
Yes.
Diane Hollister.
Yes.
Jennifer Hovanek.
Yes.
Renee Leyva.
Yes.
Julie Milovec.
Yes.
Thomas Stagg.
Yes.
Vanessa not here. Karen Voidick.
Yes.
Yolande Wilburn.
Yes.
Catherine Yanikowski.
Yes.
Monica Caldecott.
Yes.
And Alex Mancina.
Yes. All right, thank you. Let's take a short break and reconvene at 2:30. Okay, looks like we're live.
Mhm.
So the Rails board is back in open session. We have no action to take. Follow up from closed session. Is there anything else before we adjourn? Hearing nothing, this meeting is adjourned at 3:46 PM. Thank you all for your time.